project as Penny Arcade comes after several bands such as Veronica Falls and Ultimate Painting. What did you feel you needed to express on your own that you didn't fit within those projects?
Well, I'd never done anything completely on my own, and when you work with
Okay.
other people, you're always you have to go through someone else's filter, you know. So you have to. It's fun working like that, but you have to go. You have to put all your ideas through someone else's mind, really. And so
Mhm.
I wanted to see what it would be like doing a project where I was the sole musical. All the ideas would come from myself, and I'd never done that before. And for years I've done different bands, and I felt like it was time to try doing this on my own.
Yes, of course. And are you happy now with the project so far?
Yeah. I'm happy with the two records I've put together, and I'm happy with working on my own. But sometimes I miss collaborators, so I've started to bring people in to work with me a bit more.
Okay. So let's talk about Backwater College. It has a very intimate feeling associated to. Was that atmosphere an aesthetic choice from the outset, or did it end up emerging from the limitation setbacks of the recording process? How was that?
I think that the sound, and you mean Backwater College, the first record, the
Mhm.
yeah, it was partly due to the well, not to the limitations, but partly how I wrote it very like late in the evening, and I was often writing the songs in late at night in my flat, and
Okay.
I would sit in like like a room with like a little light on, and I quite liked that atmospheric feel where I
Mhm.
felt like I was in a little cocoon, you know, a little cabin, and
Yeah. That homely feeling, isn't it?
yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
And often I would wait till late at night to work. You know, sometimes I'd be writing the songs at 1 in the morning or something like that, and I enjoyed that feeling when most of the world is asleep. You know, and you're there, and I would be like working into the evening, and so I think it was less the limitations, but more the I chose to work in this kind of crepuscular late night environment, and I think that really infused the sound of the record.
Yes, it makes sense. You speak of Jonah as an almost instantaneous song built from a simple riff. Did that kind of spontaneity end up defining the sound of the whole album?
A lot of it, yeah, a lot of it. How I tend to write is I often I go with the first idea, and I do the same with the recording. Often,
Mhm.
um, I work almost as if I'm making demos. So the first thing I come up with is normally the way I want the whole thing to go.
Okay.
So I found that the spontaneous feel is really the best way for me to work. If I redo something over and over again, I lose the essence.
Mhm. Okay. I think that there's a strong sense of space influence, space landscape on the album, almost cinematic, I would say. Did returning to the countryside directly influence the way you write and produce music?
Uh, I don't know if it was if the moving to the country influenced my writing, but I guess living in a more in a place where there was more quiet, and it was in the city. There's always noise going on, you know, all through the night, and I wasn't inspired necessarily by the aspects of the country, but I did like the
Mhm.
quietness and the way you can feel a bit more shut off from the rest of the world.
Okay. On double exposure, there seems to be a clear shift with less focus on the guitar and more on drum machines and textures. Was that a conscious decision or a natural result of the moment you were living through?
Um, Well, it was a bit like your question about working with other people. I've been working with the guitar for so long, and all my bands have quite a similar feel. So I felt like it was time for me to start focusing, at least try writing on primarily on a different instrument. And a lot of the songs were written on an organ, and instead of me kind of making them work with guitar or piano, I decided to go with this very stripped down organ and these primitive old drum machines I have.
Okay.
And that kind of helped that it helped for me give it a kind of charm, and it has a kind of it feels very spontaneous to me.
Okay, okay. Thank you. How would you define this second album?
I would say
the definition came from you.
Yeah, I would say it's rawer and more simplistic, but with many of the same influences. You know, you can hear the Velvet Underground,
Yeah, yeah.
the Mary Chain, and maybe even Stereolab or things like that. And you can hear the same influences, but I think it's a bit rawer and more stripped down than a lot of the other music I've made, and maybe more direct.
Okay. It's curious, as you mentioned, Velvet Underground, I felt the same.
Yeah.
Between the rawer melancholy of Backwater College and the experimentation of double exposure, where do you feel your artistic balance lies today?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I I think I'm always musically in a similar kind of world. Like I always, the Velvet Underground are always a kind of touchstone. I always come back to them, but I do I do listen to a lot of more experimental music, and I think over time I would like to add some more elements of that into my music. Not going completely experimental, but maybe adding more of a kind of sound collage, a bit more cinematic, and um,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly where my artistic vision lies, but it always comes back to this very simple kind of primal Velvet Underground. Um, I think in the future I would like to move into a slightly more experimental phase, or at least try that.
Okay, okay, okay. But I think that cinematic experience quite defines your album, this album that I was listening to.
Great, great. Well, that's good. That's kind of what I hope for. I'd
I
like it
think
to
so.
be. I don't want to be the kind of person that makes a record and each time completely changes. But but at the same time, you don't want to make the same record over and over again. So um, I'm glad that some of the things that I've been wanting to incorporate, you can hear there.
Yes, balance is the secret, isn't it?
Yeah.
James, finally, what about shows? Where are we going to have the chance to see you perform?
Well, I'm playing.
Where and when, of course.
Where and when? I have to hang on. I have to look at some of my.
Your
But I can
agenda, yeah.
tell you some. Next month, I'm going to play some shows in Belgium and in Germany,
Okay.
and I have French shows coming up through the year, and later in the year, possibly some UK shows. I have to, but at the moment, I have Brussels on the 12th of May.
Okay, okay, okay.
And Germany, Lüneburg on the 13th, Kusel in Germany on the 15th, Stuttgart, Germany on the 16th, and Offenbach, Germany on the 17th.
Okay.
And then in June, I'm playing in Paris, in Rouen, in Amiens, and later in June, I'm playing in Toulouse and Toulon. And then I'm booking shows for later in the year at the moment. So
Maybe Portugal back then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's various shows coming up here and there. I'm playing bits over the summer and booking things for later in the year at the moment.
Okay. Okay, James. Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure. So nice to talk to you, and it was a pleasure to meet you. Thank you again.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be on the show.
All of good to you.
All right. Thanks a
Best
lot.
luck for your project and for the shows.